there we go. Welcome back to another episode of AI Unplugged, the podcast where we speak to people turning artificial intelligence into business results. Today's guest is Brett Ellis, Head of Partnership and Enterprise at DeepStream, one of UK's most innovative platforms in the collection and recovery space. Brett's background, though, is anything but ordinary, from running a media agency in South Africa to scaling enterprise partnerships in Fintech, and how now a part of driving AI adoptions into collections. So in this episode, and welcome, Brett, we will go into the real drivers of self-service and automation success. We will talk a little bit what it takes to build partnerships, and you are the right one to talk about that, of course, and how that would move markets. And we're going to talk a little bit about any leaders out there who say that AI isn't ready yet might be missing the biggest opportunity in the next decades. So with that said, welcome to all you who listen. Welcome, Brett. Let's dive directly into it. So you transitioned from hi, Brett. Nice to see you, my friend.
Yes, good to. Thanks for having me on here. Appreciate it.
We appreciate that you took some time. We go a little bit back already, and we have all kind of projects going together. This is not so much what it's about today, but more about you as a person in the industry that you are serving and that I'm also serving. And you transitioned actually from media and corporate into fintech. I actually did a little bit the same in my journey. But what was the key moments that shaped that journey for you for doing that transition in your career? Why did you end it where you are now?
Yeah, well, I suppose there could, I could fluff it up and try and make it all about business, but actually it was more to do, the change was more to do with circumstance and family. So I think I, mentioned to you, my career is really in two parts at the moment. One is in South Africa before I left, which is 7 years ago, and then the rest is in the UK. In South Africa, as you rightly said, I had been an entrepreneur, built up a business over a decade, and that was in financial advertising. So dealing with PLCs, dealing with your senior stakeholders, your C-suite members. So understanding how busy they are, what makes them tick, and really knowing how to move the needle in their world. So that was a skill set that I developed. Then South Africa is an amazing country, but equally there was opportunities that popped up on the UK front in terms of just lifestyle and change of life. So my business partner wanted to buy me out, and I have a wife with 2 children, 2 girls, and we were just looking at how can we best give them a future that we think is the best for them. And that at the time happened to be the UK, and everything joined together. My eldest daughter was starting her school journey. My wife could sell her business. And so we just said, right, that's it. And we packed up, sold up, and exited South Africa and came to the UK with no actual work or anything like that. When I did that, though, I said, right, I can either stay in the lane I'm in, which is very niche, and it's the same in any country you go, right? Yeah. You're dealing with PLCs and only their shareholder communication. And in the UK, that was already a very flooded market. It was owned. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me in that space. I said, or I can go into technology, which is going to fold over itself, maybe 100 or 1,000 times over the next 10 years. And we're seeing how quick it's doing that. Martin, you right at the cold edge of AI and what's happening. And so I said, right, let me get into that and get into technology.
There's a future. There's a future there that will never end.
Exactly. How can I make, bearing in mind, Martin, I was going from being a business owner to now working for a business. I needed to work out what my quickest route was to generating the most amount of wealth in my personal life that I could do in the shortest amount of time. And technology was that space. And particularly, it was technology in like the disruptors, the fintech. I chose tech. I chose financials because that was my background, and that was it.
But I think also you feel in that environment is where you can be as a former founder, as a former business owner. You need to come into an environment where there is space for a profile like you also, who've been there, who tried it before, who can be a part of the journey that SaaS company is on, and we are always growing. And so that's what a story, and what a way to start your children's life, and that's a cool thing to have when you get older to talk about. So you spoke a little bit about it actually here where I said, because my next question would be how has that your experience from that media agency world? You touched a little bit about talking to those decision makers, C-level, understanding them, coming from that world. But how has that helped you in the world of SaaS and enterprise sales? You touched a little bit about it, but there must be more things you have taken from that world that you now can, capitalize on, so on said, in the new role you are in.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, although it's very different things I was positioning, it was the same type of approach where you had to change people's mindsets, right? From this is how we always do it to this is what we could be doing. So the way I won business in my former life was by going in at a C-suite level and making sure that the company story was told through their set of financials. So traditionally, that was just something they ticked off and said, I've produced it because the exchange says I have to produce a public document. Yeah. We turned it on its head and said, well, if you're producing a public document, why don't you turn it into a marketing document?
Yeah.
And it becomes, and so now in the technology world, you're going into similar leaders and they're sitting on top of legacy systems, legacy outlooks, and you're sitting in front of them. And if you're taking the solution, okay, all you need to understand is their problem. And they're very busy people. And these guys are all looking at how you can change their bottom line. Okay. It all comes down to how you can make them better and fix their problems.
Yeah.
And so that's been invaluable, is understanding how to read the environment in order to provide something that somebody wants to hear. You know?
And understand the complexity that they are working in, and within the internal rules that they are working in. That's also why when we speak about, you said something amazing there, it's about their problems and it's about addressing those, understanding those. And because you have that background, it's not only about the problem you're solving, it's the whole company structure to save money, to cut down here, to be a part of a company environment on a higher level.
Yeah.
So you scale businesses yourself, like in multiple industries now. You've been a part of that journey. I've been a part of that journey in my life, and we are getting older. You have 2 children now. You are another place in your life now. So what lessons do you think is coming out of that experience as not business-wide, but as Brett, as a human being, to been through your journeys and now where you're sitting, where you are now?
Yeah. Good one, Martin. And it's a nice question. I think if I look at things, it's about, being prepared to be brave. Okay. But with that bravery, it's about rolling up your sleeves and being prepared to work towards that goal. So, I mean, every situation has lows and highs, right? And you can't let the lows discourage you. You got to keep pushing the boundaries. And so even in my circumstance, Martin, coming into the UK, I didn't start where I wanted to be, right? I didn't start in lovely. I had all of the ideas of finding a business that had their own proprietary tech, and then plowing my skills into that business and making and helping them grow. Of course, that was what I could do, but because I didn't have any UK experience, and because I had never sold SaaS as a solution, and because of this, I ended up having to start at an entry level IT managed services role that literally was, like reversing my life back. If I had to go back, whatever, a decade. But that only lasted for a couple of years. And then my skill set, because I pushed through that. So the advice would be take what you've got, push hard and trust yourself.
Think it's a very good advice, and it's also a very good advice on how do you grow as a human and what is important. Titles and roles and things are not important now. It's about your end goal out here and being able and being ready. I do it now, and this is my third startup. I built companies to big sizes. We sold them. We did. I've been like in that level for many years, but always when you start something new, you start on scratch. I start booking those meetings. I start selling. I'm starting down there, because if I don't go through that process myself, how can I, teach my team? And so
Yes,
I think being willing to put, and I think it's the best advice actually, stand up every morning, go to work, be ready, work your ass off, and don't care about like
exactly.
where now is. There's one goal, and maybe it's up here. Do the hard work that it will take to go there. It's not an easy fix. There's no easy way.
No,
It's not a sprint. It's a marathon to get up there. I love
exactly.
that. I love that.
Sometimes you get lucky, but there's a famous golf player called Gary Player. He's actually a South African. And his famous saying is always, he says, you know what? The more I practice, the luckier I get, right? So if you're not practicing, you're not going to get lucky. If you're not swinging, you're not going to hit. So
You're
whether
right.
you're a founder,
You're right.
and it's your business, or you're in a
Yeah.
business and
Yeah.
you're wanting to grow, like you say, Martin, you got to have energy, and
Yeah.
you got to wake up every morning and roll your sleeves up and just
And you
go
will have
there with a
failures,
good.
and it will hurt, and it will hurt. You will have failures. There will be things where you lose things on the floor you didn't imagine. You have to go through it. There is no middle way. You need to go through it and learn from it, learn from
Exactly.
those experiences. And that's maybe lead me down to a little bit on a different part of question, because as we grow as also as humans and with experience, you sit and leading the partnerships in DevStream, and your experience today, because I think it can be, and I know you feel a little bit about the same, what separates game changing partnerships from glorified handshakes? We have a lot of those, and maybe drag some a little bit in from your experience as we go. What is it actually? Because you can, in your role, I hear all these partnerships managers, oh, we have 300 partnerships, and wow, and we can and in the end, yeah, what separates those two elements and things in your world?
Again, yeah, that's a great question, and it's actually something that is very central to the way we approach it at DebtStream. Is differentiating loads of partners versus value partners. Okay, because like you say, you can go and have 100 handshakes, but what really separates it is how you engage with that partner and actually the revenue you drive together. Okay, in let there's different types of partnerships, but in a world where it's a commercial world and it's a business, we're not doing aid out into different countries. Our job is to really grow our businesses, right? Like you say. So for me, the things that differentiate it is there's a couple of things. One is, and we've had this conversation, Martin, it's quid pro quo. So it's if I'm giving, my partner's giving. We need to have some type of equal world where we're both inputting value into our partnership. That's really important. That's a big separator. So if I give, you also giving. So we're both working at building something together. And then secondly, it's about engagement and making sure that engagement results in very focused, like, bottom line activity. So again, you can have some really good friendly partners that are just going to eat time because you're never going to actually achieve what you want out of them. So I think it's goal setting. It's going to your partner and going, right, what do we want to achieve? What, and we a new partnership, Martin. We're actually still building that together, But the idea is build that together, understand what you want to achieve, and then have regular meetings and engagements and plans to achieve that. Otherwise, you're gonna have very friendly conversations all the time with no outputs.
I think I completely agree, and I think you actually answered my last questions a little bit. I will leave a little bit down it anyway, but how do you evaluate whenever, whatever and whenever a new partner is bringing those revenues, is bringing those values, or are actually bringing distractions? And I think one of the things I have learned, I signed so many referral partners in the beginning, and now I'm actually moving away from it. I'm getting rid of them again, many of them, because they didn't bring any value. There were no connection. It was just there. So we actually try to demand things now, set parameters up from the beginning and saying, this is what is agreed between us as partners. And then there's no way to move or reason to move forward if you don't agree to these terms or this mindset and what can you do for me and what can I do for you. And if those things could be aligned from the beginning, that's how I do it now today. But have you been in that situation also where you needed to say goodbye to a partner, and how do you actually evaluate it down the line? When is it stop and when is it, hey, this is amazing partnership, let's get it to the next level again?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, I suppose without mentioning names, definitely, I mean, there's been partnerships that haven't provided fruit back into the business, and it's because certain things have failed. Maybe it's because in some circumstances the actual stakeholders aren't the people that are involved in the partnership, so the buy-in is not actually across the business. So you haven't partnered, and that's maybe a mistake on my side from time to time. And then as a result, really, there's no teeth in the relationship. There's nothing that can happen, and it's like doing a sale where you don't have the budget holder on the call, right? You can talk till you're blue in the face, but that guy who's going to pay the check isn't there. So it's the same in partnerships. And then letting go, generally we would not let go, but we would recalibrate. So like you mentioned referral partners. So we would put them into a referral partner category, and the cadence of engagement would just drop right down. And depending on who they were and how likely they are to potentially deliver anything to us, we might contact them directly once a year or twice a year, so that it's not eating time, but we're still saying, okay, that person could potentially still lead and open a door, so let's not lose them, but equally let's make sure our time is being spent with mega AI, because they're the guys that are going to are giving the most, and similarly they're the guys that need the most from me, because we both are demanding value from each other.
And it also comes down to, I don't believe that you can have 300 solid partnerships. Yeah, if you had a whole partnership department managers and 10 of them sitting there. But in general, it's about having the right one and having time to focus on them and giving back and doing things together and develop together. And when you create that loyalty between companies in the same sector, you get double outreach. You get so many elements. Your customers, my customers, they can see how much we work together. They can see our commitment to each other. And by that, they can also see that they will get powerful solutions out of these two companies who actually have a real interest in each other to do something amazing. And those are, for the gold mine that brings value down to the end. And most important part, the clients that sits in the other end.
Absolutely. And Martin, just one last thought on that. You're talking about partnerships. So in my world, we have like it's morphed as you do, as any business should be able to change things. It started as an integration partner, right?
Yeah.
Which effectively as a technology integrated solution that we're going to go to market with, which is still there. But where it evolved to a bit on our end was we've got resellers, which ultimately are going to be people that actually adopt our technology into their technology stack, and vice versa. We might adopt their technology. And then we're responsible to the levels that we agree to on each other's products out in the marketplace. Then you've got referral partners, which actually have nothing to do with tech. It's literally just throwing it over the fence. So I think the thing that really has worked is where, and not always worked, but worked better, is where we have an integrated involvement, and there's that level of interest in each other's product.
I think that, and then again, there is some match in heaven. Now, DeepStream and the Mega is for us, of course, natural and a match in heaven, but it's a match in heaven because it covers two sides of, in this case here, just a customer journey, and brings the both in. And when you do those, it become a competitive advantage for both companies in this case, because our product just become, we can convert more, we can connect more with clients, we can create better results, and that's in the end what it's all about. So with that said, for any SaaS leaders out there sitting here and listening, and I know you do, what is the one mistake that you, Brett, could give of a good advice that you often see in this partner GTM space when you look outside your colleagues in the market? What is the biggest mistake that these companies are doing?
No, I wouldn't say I'm the most qualified guy to make this, but from my point of view, it's about thinking that this is far away. Even making the mistake of thinking this is a year away. This isn't a year away. This is happening right now. It's a massive focus, and the guys who are focusing right now are going to be the leaders, because it's giving you economies of scale. It's giving you sort of efficiencies. And wherever you plug in AI, it does that. All you're going to be doing is choosing the right partners, right? That's the advice, is don't wait, do.
Don't wait. I say it every day on all my things, in all my communications. It's not happening in a boardroom anymore. It's happening in strategy. It's happening outside in your tech stack. So wherever you are, if it's self-service, it's the sales, it's customer service, it is not belonging in talks in boardrooms anymore. So good, you also brought that up. Some key questions for you as a person. So you said one time that many leaders still believe in collections, AI in collections is years from your advantage point in the industry. What does that mindset still, why does it still persist out there that this is, that we just talked a little bit about it, that AI is something that is coming, is not now, is something we need to, I still hear it from a lot of companies, it's next year. Why does this mindset still live out there in your perspective?
Well, I think particularly in the UK, there was quite a bit of damage done with sort of your web bots and your, I think that perceptionally that let the market down a bit. So you have like a negative connotation around sort of, although it wasn't AI at all, right? That was literally not AI, it was scripting and machine learning. But the point is, it left a certain stigma. And I think that's not only, but I think that's got a big sort of impact on anybody that's out there sitting and thinking, oh, can I let AI out on my end consumer? So that's the one thing. And the second thing is, you were talking about it being at the coal edge and out in the teams and that type of thing already. That's a double-edged sword, because you've got teams out there and you've got managers of call centers that potentially might think that this is going to maybe diminish their kingdom, like maybe threaten their validity. But that's a perception that we'll need to manage. That will just go past them anyway. So like, if you sit on that and you think that's going to happen, then it is going to happen. But if you own it and you make AI as part of your team as opposed to as as something as an outsider,
Yeah.
you'll be, I think you'll be the winner for that.
I said in
So
a
I mean that's quite narrow, but that's what I
No,
think.
but I think you're right, and the thing is actually about starting that journey now, also with bringing your team on board with it. If you sit there as a CEO, bring your team into it. A part of you're namely correctly right, and part of the resilience out there is from operation, of course. What will happen, and what about my position and my jobs? And so bring them along that journey. It's not only a C-level thing. This is the production. This is managers. This is operation. This is the people who sits on the phone and receiving the calls and doing the calls. Get them on board that this is coming here to help them and not replace them out there. So you could say, you also said a little bit about, we talked a little bit about it, but what do you think is misunderstood in general about bringing AI into collection, is especially if you see it from an enterprise perspective? But what is it? We talked some of it, but if you could be very concrete, some few things that you think this is a misunderstood thing, and that's why there is resilience.
Yeah. So because now I understand it more because of our partnership and what the value you're bringing. It's about thinking that you need to boil the ocean with AI, and in any collections journey, like you've often said to me, no, like let's just ring fence RDV. What is that? So it's about breaking up
Yeah.
your world into pieces. Like it's like, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. I hope I don't get into trouble for that. It's just a saying, everyone. I don't, but exactly that. Like, so if you look at what we're doing and what you're doing, it's not that you can't do the other stuff. It's that you can definitely deliver value in this area, and you've tested it and it works. So, like, what is that? It might be identification and verification, and plug in a tool that's been built, as opposed to thinking, oh, I need to put AI across my whole collections
Yes.
channel. And that might be possible, but it's that's the mindset, is look at your world in pieces, as opposed to like doing everything in one go. Obviously, you as a leader are looking at your full business, but in terms of the actual places you can add value.
In anything, when you start with these things, if you started with adding in a self-service portals in mind, if you started with my AI agents, you start small. Start with solving one problem, do it really well. Don't try to reinvent the whole wheel from the beginning. Start one place, adopt it, do it well, take it bit for bit for bit. It is, again, as I say in many cases, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, but that has to start now. So I think really good advice. You've seen a 95% increase in payment plans and over 46% spike in self-service portals adoption. What do you think drive these results in today's environment, where this is happening? The shift are coming in, more and more are using that type of preferred way of handling their communication in these situations.
Yeah, well, I think for us, it's, if you look at sort of the conversation we were having 3 years ago to the conversation we're having today, it's massively different. There's a buy-in now. People understand that self-service is not an option anymore. It's just, it has to be there, right? So now you're looking at what's the best customer experience I can give, as opposed to, do I need self-service, right? So I think for me, that's just tying back into that comment about user experience is really important. And so if a user is getting a phone call at the wrong time, that's the wrong time to do it. It's the wrong outcome for their customer. So if you're giving them the options and they really feel that they have those options, your chances of converting whatever that needs to convert to massively increase. And that's what we're seeing in our outcomes, is that people have choice. They're doing it in their time, at a time that suits them, and they then can work within their boundaries. But also remember, not everybody can do it at a self-service level. So you need that interaction. It might be that it's an AI tool, like an AI agent that does a little bit more than, say, for example, it just gives them that little bit more of interaction that they needed. Or when it goes through yourself and myself, it gets to an agent, a physical agent. But what we do is we offer people choice and the ability to do things in their time.
Yeah.
And once that's happened, they can decide if they want to speak to a human or not. But the point is that it's just empowering the end user ultimately.
It's tackling so much into my narrative and your narrative, and I think the shift that you have been seeing in the UK and you've been seeing in Europe and a little bit less in US actually, but that's coming, where the shift is not about hunting people down on endless letters and emails and this. It's about engaging, offer different kind of opportunities to that engagement and create an environment where you can resolve the problem that you have, and that will convert and connect better with clients is a no-brainer. And that is why that is why you need to add these elements. You're right, you cannot just do this or do this. On the other hand, if you only still, and I see that still, people doing emails and SMSs, like, please, then you are so much behind. But you can say that's an old method. Opening rates are not good. You cannot ensure to connect with people. You can see my daughter is 21 now. She's sitting normally with a computer here, an iPad here, one mobile phone here. I think she has something operated in her brain also, so she can communicate on all levels, on all channels, and they want, so there's also generation wise now who, and my daughter wouldn't call anybody, but she would be online in your self-service portal. So that is the core of why. And I think as a professional collection agency, you should like, you need to have the newest tech stack available as a part of your offering to the market. That's just like my perspective on it. So
Absolutely.
with that said, what does a modern collection strategy look like into 2026? And you can say we touched about it here, different omni-channel strategy. But if you really need to go full in, what is it that they need to take as the next steps into the next year to be on top of the business that they are serving?
Okay, so yeah, I think like you mentioned, omni-channel is a component of it, but ultimately it's about making sure that you take down barriers of entry. Okay, so somebody, like, we're in the collection space, right? So just put yourself in their shoes. If there's a slightest barrier, they're going to not want to engage. It's not a natural engagement. So you have to lower barriers, make it as inviting as possible, as easy as possible. And then the rest is about maintaining that flow so that you don't have any friction points. So it's all about removing friction, I think. And you need to be looking at technology and going, how do we remove friction? Where is our friction? And your numbers will tell you that, right? You'll go, I've made 10,000 calls and I've spoken to 30 people. That's a massive friction point, right? If, for argument, you sent out 10,000 emails, which cost you a fraction of a phone call, and 300 people engaged, you've already had a win. But equally, you go through the omni channels and you do some outbound AI agents, because it's not going to cost you half as much as having all of these things. And then the customer has choice. They decide to engage. Once they engage, are you going to carry on putting up hurdles? What is the user experience? That's it. It's really about, a good agent on the phone works out how to keep a customer talking and knows, a brilliant agent knows how to take down barriers. Yeah. They're not going to have barriers in your call, and they're the people who are going to get conversion, right?
Yeah. Yes.
All we're doing as a technology point of view is the same thing. Look at who you partner with to allow the least amount of friction. And you can ask questions like, what are your results? Can you show me results? What have you done in the world of collections? Yeah. And fortunately, we can come back to you and go, yeah, no problem. Give me your numbers and I'll tell you what we could potentially do for you. And I can show you anecdotal proof of what we've done for other people. So that's why we believe we have less friction.
Yeah, I loved everything you said. If we talk a lot about it, people have these different tech stacks out there. I think it's really interesting when you see a company like DeepStream, where there's a lot of collection platforms with self-service environments where they were built in from the beginning. But either though, still many of the same enterprises client that you have today in DeepStream and that I'm having today also and talking with, they choose to go down with people like you because you own that domain. That is so crazy. You don't do anything else. You don't do AI voice, but you don't do a full collection platform. You don't do a CRM system. You do just that, and you do it really, really well. And that, I think, is coming down to the next question, because I hear a lot. I sat with a lot of CEOs from Holland in the collection space a couple of weeks ago, and they said, "Hey, we want to build it ourselves." And I said, "Cool, do it for sure. Try if you think you can." Like, did you lose me? Oh, Brett, are you back again?
Martin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, yeah. I had a bit of a breakup, so I missed that
No
question.
problem.
Sorry about that.
We clip it after. So I will just start where I started and saying. So you can say with your specialized product, I see a lot of my clients and your client, they have a collection platform today, and they have a self-service environment. But either though those big enterprise collection companies choose to work with you and embed you in as a new feature there because you own that domain. And I think that leads what we talked about before, to be best at what you are in general and do only what you do. They need to do that, of course, and be up in that level. But I hear a lot, and I sat in a dinner in Amsterdam with some CEOs, and they talked about, should we build ourselves or should we buy from somebody like DeepStream or Mega? And I said, hey, I think like is and then it was like, the question for you is, if a firm has, let's say, 20 million pounds in a yearly recurring revenue, should they, as a collection agency or in that type, should they sit down and try to build it themselves, or should they go with a vendor, and why?
Okay. I mean, that's definitely, if you look at our biggest competition in the marketplace, it's not other technology, it's in house, the idea of building in house, right? Now, I mean, you answered the question that you asked, okay? The answer is in the idea that they're a debt collection agency, they're not a software house. Now, if for argument's sake, say they decided to become a technology provider, that's a different story. Okay.
Yeah.
Then build your tech, use it and sell it. That's fine. I know some people have done that. But if you are a collections agency and your job is collecting, that's your main thing. That's why you're good at what you're doing. If you come into our world where we are a technology company and we specialize in collections and keeping up to date with the latest trends, we take all of the expense out of your P&L. Okay, you get it at a fraction of the cost, and you get all of the best in class updates and thinking and everything in one go. And that's actually, I mean, that's SaaS, right? That is software as a solution. Now, if you really boil it down, it just makes sense. But you got to take people into account and IT departments and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, the answer for me is, I might be a bit biased on this, but if you're not a technology company, don't try and become one unless that's really a big part of your strategy. And make your life easy and efficient by using people that have decided to become technology companies to help you.
I was a little provoking on that dinner where somebody said we build ourselves, and I said it's not to be rude, but and now I'm speaking for my own staff. I have like people that come, they would normally work at, the biggest tech companies in Silicon Valley. They come with a PhD from Carnegie Mellon University. And it was not say, but they don't work for a company where their product and their focus is not the main focus and the main thing in the company. So you cannot attract those type of people to your company, because their product would be secondary to your main product, that is to be a debt collection company. And that is why you would never be able to outperform anybody that sits in the tech space, because they have that 100% focus, as you also said. So the advice out there, especially in today's market and rapid speed of, especially in the AI sector, go and talk with some professional vendors and don't try to build these things yourself. So wrapping up, 5 minutes left, and some quick shoots, Brett, before we end this amazing episode with good discussion. I think it was super valuable for all the listeners out there, building companies up. Also SaaS owners that want to recruit the right staff in, take staff in that has been working in the industry before, or not necessarily the industry, but come as a founder, as an owner, have been serving that level of customers. I think that is a good advice actually to startups in general when you set your team that do that. Shoot one here in the end here. One myth about partnerships that need to die. What is that? One myth about partnerships that need to die.
That the number of partners you have equals the revenue you can generate.
Perfect. Most underrated tool or workflow in your daily life?
I don't know if it's underrated anymore, but ChatGPT.
Perfect. But I agree. I would have said the same. What excites you most about the next 12 months that we are looking into from today on?
The realization in the market space about customer self-service, and also the adoption of technology, like be that AI or sort of data-driven type of approaches. Martin, do you want to redo that one?
No, we can do that if it dropped a little bit. So let me answer.
No. If you're happy with that answer, that's all good.
No, that was good. That was fine, my friend, but super good. All right, we wrap it up and finish it off, but let me ask you again about it so we have a floating one. So, Brett, last question before we wrap up this amazing episode. What excites you most about the next 12 months that you personally and DeepStream are looking into?
Brilliant. I think what excites me the most is the ecosystem of technology that we're building over the next 12 months. That's going to mean like smoother journeys in the collections process. So removing friction and building value into our clients.
Removing friction must be the best word. I heard it quite some times today. I love it. With that said, to all you, thank you, Brett, for participating. For all you listeners out there, we look forward to share more insight about the upcoming DeepStream mega integration and how we're going to disturb the market on another level. Brett, thank you so much for coming. All of you, have a super day.
Thanks, Martin. Have a good one. Thank you. Cheers.
Confirm stopping.